I don't usually speak on things like this. I'm not one for drama or social media rants or even long conversations with strangers. I keep to myself. I work hard. I pay my taxes. I take care of my husband and my son. I'm not a saint, but I'm decent. And I try my best to see the good in people, or at least I used to. But something happened last Tuesday, and no matter how much I try to forget it, my heart won't let it go. Maybe writing this out will help. Or maybe someone else needs to hear it. It started like any other errand day. The sun was hot, sticky, the way it always is in Georgia in late August. I had just left Mason's grocery on Auburn Avenue, dragging two big bags in each hand, swaying under their weight. I wore my usual jeans, sneakers, a blue shirt with a bleach stain near the collar. My hair was tied up in a lazy bun, and my back was sore from standing all day at the diner. I'd picked up a few things for dinner and some snacks for my little boy, Malik, who just started third grade. Nothing about the day felt unusual, until I heard the screaming. Not a person, not a child, an animal. A high-pitched, frantic screech echoed from across the street. I paused, blinking against the sun, and looked toward the alley beside the dry cleaners. There it was, a cat, a small, orange tabby, fur matted and tail puffed, hissing like its life depended on it. Because it did. 3 dogs, medium-sized, scruffy, fast, circled it like wolves. One lunged, and the cat darted sideways, scrambling to climb a trash bin. Another dog caught its tail with its teeth. The scream that followed made my stomach twist. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I dropped my grocery bags right there on the sidewalk, the eggs cracking somewhere beneath a loaf of bread. I ran across the street, arms waving, shouting loud as I could. Hey, get away. The dogs backed off for a second. One of them barked at me, a deep, aggressive bark, and I felt fear settle in my chest like a boulder. But I didn't stop. I picked up a stick from the ground, maybe it was part of a broken broom, and swung it in the air. The dogs scattered, slowly, reluctantly, like kids who didn't get their way. The cat, wide-eyed and trembling, stayed perfectly still. It didn't run. It just looked at me, and that's when I noticed it was bleeding. One of its paws was torn, and there was a gash near its side. My heart broke a little. I crouched slowly, whispering, "It's okay, baby. I'm not going to hurt you." The cat didn't move. Its eyes stayed locked on mine, still trembling, but not running. And then I heard boots. Heavy, confident, purposeful. Behind me, footsteps echoed across the cracked sidewalk. I turned, still kneeling, and saw him. A tall white man, maybe late 40s, maybe 50, dressed like someone who spent time on a ranch, with dirty jeans, scuffed boots, and a flannel shirt rolled up to his elbows. His face was tanned, wrinkled from years in the sun. His eyes, blue, cold, locked onto me like I was the problem. "What the hell are you doing to my cat?" His voice was sharp, accusatory. No hesitation, no curiosity, just anger. I stood up slowly, hands still out in a peaceful gesture. "Sir, your cat was being attacked." I chased the dogs off. "I was just." "You expect me to believe that?" he snapped. "You're standing over her like you were about to grab her and run." I blinked. The words hit me like ice water. "No, sir. I wasn't going to. I was helping." But he wasn't listening. "You people," he muttered under his breath, shaking his head. "You people." 2 words, heavy as bricks. He didn't have to say more. I knew exactly what he meant. My heart raced. Not from the dogs this time. From him. "Look," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't want any trouble. I was just trying to help. Your cat is hurt. We should get her to a vet." "I'll handle it," he growled, walking past me. "Don't need your kind interfering." I stared at him as he bent down, lifting the cat gently in his arms. She didn't hiss at him, didn't fight, just curled up against his chest like she'd done it 100 times. I stood frozen, not because of what he said, but because of what he assumed. In his eyes, I wasn't a mother. I wasn't a worker. I wasn't a person who cared enough to stop in the middle of a long day and help a bleeding animal. I was just another black woman, standing too close to something that didn't belong to her. He turned away, stroking the cat's head, muttering something under his breath. I couldn't hear it clearly, but I didn't need to. I'd heard it before, in different ways, different tones, too many times. I picked up my groceries, hands shaking. The milk had spilled. The bread was ruined. The eggs were crushed. But I didn't care anymore. I walked home, each step heavier than the last, wondering how something so small could feel so big. And I couldn't shake that cat's eyes. Or his. And I had no idea that was only the beginning. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Tried to move on. Pretend like it hadn't gotten under my skin. That I wasn't still hearing the echo of that man's voice in my head. You people. But when I looked in the mirror, brushing my curls back into a tight bun before work, my eyes didn't lie. They were tired. Not the usual kind of tired from early mornings and long shifts. The deeper kind. The kind that comes from feeling invisible and stared at the same time. Malik was in the kitchen, munching cereal with his tablet in hand. My husband, Ronnie, was already out the door, headed to his landscaping job on the south side. I kissed Malik's forehead and stepped outside. The air was thick again. The clouds hinted at rain, but nothing fell yet. The walk to the diner was only 12 minutes, but it gave me time to think. Maybe too much time. I passed the spot where it all happened, the alley, the trash bin, the cracked sidewalk where I had dropped my bags. Nothing remained. Not the cat. Not the dogs. Not the man. But the weight of it all still lingered. At work, I tried to shake it off. Customers came and went. I poured coffee, took orders, smiled politely when old men called me sweetheart or baby girl. Most days, I didn't mind. But that morning, everything rubbed me raw. Around 10:30, I stepped out back for my break. Lit a cigarette, even though I told myself I'd quit. One puff in, I heard the voice. Alana. I turned fast. It was Tasha, one of the regulars from my church. She worked at the pharmacy across the street. We weren't close, but we knew each other well enough. Hey, I said, trying to force a smile. She stepped closer, lips tight, eyes uncertain. You okay? She asked. I mean, after yesterday? My heart dropped. Yesterday? She nodded. Girl, it's all over Nextdoor. That app. Somebody posted a whole thing. Said you tried to steal a man's cat. That you attacked it. Said you were acting suspicious. What? I choked. She pulled out her phone, scrolling, then turned the screen to face me. And there it was. A grainy photo taken from a distance, but clearly me, kneeling next to the cat. The post said, "Be careful out here, y'all." This woman was seen trying to grab my cat after some dogs attacked her. Luckily, I got there in time. She didn't even try to help, just stood there like she was gonna snatch her and run. Stay alert. My name wasn't tagged, but the photo was clear enough. Anyone who knew me would recognize me. And judging from the 58 comments beneath it, people already had. She looks familiar. Figures. That's why I keep my pets inside. Didn't something like this happen last year too? Lock her up. My knees went weak. I sat on the curb, cigarette falling from my hand. Tasha crouched next to me, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. I didn't believe it, she said quietly. Not for a second. But people talk, you know how it is. Some of them even said they called the shelter. That the man's thinking about pressing charges. Charges? For what? I whispered. I didn't touch his cat. I saved it. She nodded. I know. But when folks already made up their minds, the truth don't matter. I didn't go back inside for another 15 minutes. And when I did, I felt eyes on me. Not just customers. Coworkers too. Marta, who always shared her lunch with me, barely looked up from her register. Tom, the manager, asked me to stay out of sight for the rest of the shift. Said there were complaints and rumors, and he just wanted to keep things calm. That afternoon, I walked home in the rain. And on my porch, soaked and shaking, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be silent. Not this time. Because what happened in that alley was bigger than a cat. It was about the story he told and the one I wasn't allowed to. And if no one else was going to tell mine, I would. I never thought I'd be the type to post online. I'd always kept my head down. Did my work. Took care of my son. Never made waves. But that night, after Malik went to bed and Ronnie snored softly beside me, I sat in the living room with my phone in my lap. Hands trembling. Heart loud in my ears. I opened Facebook. The post was still going around, now shared by local pages. My face under headlines like "Suspicious Woman Confronted After Alleged Attempted Pet Theft." But there were no quotes from me. No context. No mention of the dogs. No one cared what I'd tried to do. So I wrote, "My name is Alana Brooks. I'm a waitress at Mel's Diner. I live 2 blocks from where this happened, and I did not try to steal anyone's cat. On Monday afternoon, I saw a stray cat being attacked by 2 loose dogs. I stepped in. I was scared, but I couldn't just walk away. The dogs scattered. I crouched to check if the cat was okay. That's when a man came running, yelling at me like I was a thief. He didn't ask. He didn't even look at me like I was a person. Just something to be afraid of. He took a photo without my permission. Then he lied. I didn't do anything wrong. And if I looked different, if I were a white woman in yoga pants, I don't believe this would have happened. Please share this if you believe black women deserve to be seen, heard, and believed. I stared at the screen for a long time before hitting post. And then I waited. At first, it was just my cousin in Atlanta who liked it. Then a girl I went to high school with. Then Marta from the diner, the same Marta who avoided me earlier, commented with a red heart emoji. By the next morning, it had 400 shares. By lunch, it had 3,000. I had no idea how fast things could spread, or how messy it could get. Some people stood up for me. Strangers commented things like, "Wow, thank you for telling your side. Racism is alive and well." Typical how they always twist things. But others were cruel. "She's lying. This is exactly what guilty people do, spin the narrative. I don't trust her. She looks like trouble." One message came to my inbox anonymously. "Go back where you came from, cat thief." I hadn't expected it to get this big. The news called. A local reporter named Jenna asked if I'd do an interview. "You'll be able to tell your truth," she said. I hesitated, but something in me said yes. The next day, she came to my house with a cameraman. She asked me to stand on the porch, hold Malik's hand, and look directly at the camera. I told my story again. About the dogs. About the man. About the way he didn't see me, just his assumptions. After it aired, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Some people were supportive. But others, well, you know how it goes. I got doxxed. Someone posted my address on a message board. I found dead fish on my doorstep the next morning. Ronnie begged me to take the post down. "You've got a kid to think about, Alana," he said. "These people are crazy. Let it go." But I couldn't. I wouldn't. Because letting it go meant saying it didn't happen. Saying it didn't matter. And it did. One night, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I answered, expecting another threat. But it was a woman. Quiet voice. Shaky. "Ms. Brooks," she said. "You don't know me. But I was there. Across the street. I saw the whole thing. I sat upright." "You what?" "I saw you save that cat," she whispered. "And I saw how he ran at you like you were a criminal. I didn't say anything before because I was scared. But now, I think it's time." Her name was Vanessa Torres. She worked at a flower shop across the alley. The next morning, she wrote her own post, then agreed to do an interview with the same reporter. Suddenly, the tide began to turn. People who doubted me started to fall silent. The man, whose name was Mark Benson, deleted his post and went private. But the damage was already done. I still felt unsafe walking alone. Still got looks at the diner. Still got side eyes from neighbors who used to wave. Because even when the truth comes out, the stain of a lie doesn't always wash away. That weekend, the church invited me to speak. Pastor Dwight said it was time to start some hard conversations. I stood at that pulpit, looking out at people I'd known for years. Some smiled. Others looked down. "My story isn't just mine," I said. "It's a story black women live over and over. We speak, and no one listens. We help, and we're called criminals. We exist, and it's seen as a threat." I didn't cry. Not there. But the moment I stepped off the stage and saw Malik smiling at me from the front pew, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was rising. I never asked to be a symbol. But 2 weeks after the post, after the church speech, after Vanessa came forward, I found myself sitting in a green room in New York City, under the glow of 2 bright makeup lights, with a stranger holding a microphone in my face. "You nervous?" the woman said. Her name was Sierra. She was the segment producer for a major morning show, one I used to watch while folding laundry. "A little," I said. "This isn't exactly my comfort zone." "Well, just speak your truth. You're doing something brave." I nodded, but inside, I wasn't sure if bravery was the right word. I wasn't trying to be Rosa Parks or anything like that. I just hadn't wanted to be lied about. But now here I was. The anchor introduced me with that sing-song voice they all use. Coming up, the woman at the center of a viral video confrontation sets the record straight. What really happened that afternoon? The lights came up. The camera blinked red. And suddenly, the world was watching. I told my story again. The dogs, the cat, the yelling, the photo. I said his name, Mark Benson. The man who never apologized. The man who disappeared after deleting his post and letting the internet chew me up like gristle. They asked if I forgave him. I paused, just a beat, and then said, "No, not yet. Maybe not ever." I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. When I got home, Malik ran into my arms at the airport. Ronnie hugged me like I'd come back from war. But even as I stood there, holding my son, I could feel something had shifted in the air around me. People didn't just see me as Alana from the diner anymore. They saw me as Alana the activist. And I wasn't sure how to carry that weight. The messages changed. Now I got emails from college students asking me to speak at panels. A nonprofit offered to pay me to do workshops on racial bias. A Black-owned publishing house wanted me to write a book. And through it all, there was this quiet whisper in my heart. Is this who I am now? But it wasn't just opportunity that came knocking. The death threats ramped up too. One morning, I found a note taped to my car windshield. Watch your back. You almost ruined a good man's life. Another night, my phone lit up with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. A man's voice. Gravelly. You people think everything's about race. You should have minded your own damn business. I changed my number. Installed security cameras. Taught Malik to look both ways before opening the door. Still, fear crept in like smoke. At the diner, Marta pulled me aside. You've got a platform now, she said. That's rare. Especially for someone like us. She meant a Black woman. Yeah, I said, sipping my coffee. But platforms feel an awful lot like tightropes. She nodded. True. But maybe that's how we reach across the gap. That weekend, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. You don't know me, but I'm writing to say I'm sorry. I believe the first post. I shared it. I even made a comment about how you fit the profile. I didn't think about what that meant until I saw your interview. Until I saw your eyes. I was wrong. I hope someday you'll forgive people like me, the quiet racists. The ones who smile at Black women in real life, but cross the street in their minds. Thank you for making me uncomfortable. We need more of that. I read that letter 3 times. Then I cried. Because for every anonymous threat, there was also this. A flicker of change. One night, as I sat on the porch with Ronnie, watching the sun dip behind the trees, he looked at me and asked the question I'd been too scared to ask myself. Do you think you'll go all the way with this? What do you mean? Write the book. Give the talks. Start something bigger. I didn't answer right away. But in my heart, I knew the truth. I hadn't wanted any of this. Not the spotlight. Not the struggle. Not the pain. But maybe, just maybe, I was made for it. Not because I was the smartest or the strongest, but because I'd lived it, felt it, survived it. And now, I could shine a light for the next woman, the next moment, the next fight. The invitation came in the form of an email from a journalist. Subject, panel discussion on race and responsibility, your story matters. I almost deleted it. But then I read the lineup. Professors, activists, faith leaders, and one name that hit me like a gut punch. Mark Benson. Yes, that Mark Benson. The man who called me a thief. The man who posted a lie that nearly destroyed my life. The man who vanished after deleting his post and letting the firestorm rage. I stared at the screen for a long time. My hands trembled as I clicked reply. If he's going to be there, then I will be too. The event was in Atlanta. A big auditorium, half full by the time I arrived. I walked in wearing a simple white blouse and black slacks, but I could feel every eye in the room turn toward me. Some people whispered. Some nodded with quiet respect. The moderator introduced us one by one. I was seated on the far left. Mark Benson, him, sat at the far right. Even across the stage, I could see the discomfort in his eyes. His shoulders hunched. His hands nervously fiddling with a plastic water bottle. It had been nearly 8 months since the day outside the grocery store. 8 months since the dogs. The cat. The camera click. He looked older. Less sure of himself. Somehow smaller. And still, the storm inside me raged. The panel discussion was structured. Each of us was given 10 minutes to speak. I went second. After a young professor talked about systemic bias in tech algorithms. When I stood up, my voice was calm. Steady. Even though my heart was punching against my ribs. I'm not an academic, I began. I don't have degrees in sociology. I'm not a professional speaker. I paused. Looked around the room. I'm just a woman who tried to help a cat and got labeled a criminal because of the color of her skin. I told my story again, but this time not for outrage, not for applause. I told it because I needed to, because healing, sometimes, sounds like truth spoken out loud in a room full of strangers. When I finished, the room was silent, then soft applause. Then it was Mark's turn. He stood slowly, adjusted his glasses, and walked up to the microphone. He cleared his throat. And then he said, I was wrong. No excuses. No spin. Just that. I was wrong. He looked down at his notes, then back at the audience. I saw a black woman near my cat. My first thought wasn't kindness. It was suspicion. I told myself I was protecting what was mine. But the truth is, I wasn't protecting anything. I was participating in something ugly. Something old. Something this country has never fully faced. A few people nodded. A few crossed their arms. Mark's voice cracked. I didn't think about what that post would do. I didn't think of her as a mother, or a wife, or someone's daughter. I just saw a story I could control. Then he looked at me. I know you don't owe me anything, Alana. Not forgiveness. Not even your time. But I came here tonight because I needed to say it to your face. He paused. I'm sorry. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I had played out this scenario in my head 100 times. Yelled at him in imaginary arguments. Cursed his name into the walls of my memory. But in that moment, real, raw, unvarnished, I saw something I hadn't expected. Remorse. And maybe growth. After the event, people came up to shake my hand. Some asked for photos. Others cried. But I kept looking for a way to escape the crowd to breathe again. When I finally stepped outside, the air was cool. Quiet. And there he was, standing near a bench under the glow of a street lamp. He didn't approach me. He just stood there, waiting. I walked toward him. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then he spoke, quietly. Can I ask you one thing? What? Do you hate me? I thought about it. No, I said. But I hated what you did. And I hate what it represents. He nodded slowly. That's fair. I took a deep breath. Then asked, why now? Why did you come tonight? He shrugged. My daughter, he said. She's 12 now. She saw the video online a few months ago. Recognized me. She asked me if I was racist. His voice cracked again. I didn't know what to say. I looked at him, and for the first time, I saw the full circle. What we do, what we believe, ripples beyond our own lives. It touches our children, our neighbors, our future. Before I turned to leave, I said, you can't fix the past, but you can be better going forward. He nodded. I'm trying. As I walked away, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. Not because justice had been fully served, but because the truth had finally stood in the light. A month later, I gave my first paid talk at a university. The lecture hall was full of young faces. Curious. Skeptical. Awake. I began the way I always do now. Hi, I'm Alana. I'm a mom, a wife, a former waitress, and the woman who saved a cat on the worst day of her life. They laughed, and then they listened. Because the story, our story, wasn't about a cat, or a lie, or even a post. It was about what we choose to see, and who we choose to believe.